plan is don't let Joe talk. Go after Donald Trump and try to point out something that Trump's saying that's controversial. And over the weekend, they got what they wanted. They got this term bloodbath. And I thought to myself, okay, that's the headline, bloodbath. What did the speech say? I mean, first off, when the president used the word bloodbath, and we're about to show you specifically, but he was referring to what's going on with the car industry. It was clear for anyone watching the speech.
But they cut it out.
But here's this is what the headlines were as you looked at the media covering his speech the night before.
Right. NBC, Trump says there will be a bloodbath if he loses the election. Trump says country faces bloodbath if Biden wins in November. Trump says there will be a bloodbath and elections will end if he isn't reelected. We will play you the complete soundbite with the run-up to the bloodbath part in a moment. But first, here's more about the mainstream media's reaction to that.
What I heard was a continuation of the same rhetoric, the same endorsement of political violence that we've seen from Donald Trump for years, as you pointed out. It goes even farther back.
We are all desensitized and inured to the extraordinary, remarkable, and very, at times, un-American and threatening things that the former president is saying.
We can't take him, look at what he's saying and think, oh, well, we're going to be accurate for this. We're going to say he was referring to the auto industry.
I mean, this is crazy. I mean, we're still months out from the election, and they're already starting the disinformation campaign early. This is what the president actually said. Watch.
Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories.
He was talking about the cars. And if I get elected, there are going to be tariffs. If I don't get elected, that'll be a bloodbath meeting for the car industry. And then he started talking more about the car industry. That whole paragraph was about the car industry. That would be like us interviewing someone and cutting out and clipping it all together and changing the meaning of what he said. And we would be considered frauds.
100%.
Good morning. Trump said bloodbath.
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 Trump said bloodbath. Trump said bloodbath.
Trump said bloodbath.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Trump said bloodbath. Trump said bloodbath.
It's like, have the AI bots already taken over? Everyone's such a robot. You're all so stupid. Not you, but you wonder why the corporate media is in collapse. These people are such frauds, and we're not going to take it anymore. It's amazing. Such an inspirational and uplifting show for you, ladies and gentlemen, today on Monday, March 18th, 2024. Biden campaign and DNC media spread hoax, and we are going to rip it to pieces on this show. We will strip the bark off this thing and show you the truth. Hoax that Trump said it'll be a bloodbath if he's not elected. Oh, okay. James Comer floats possibility of criminal referrals for Hunter Biden, who's once again skipping his public hearings. An important decision at the Supreme Court. Arguments today over social media censorship, and General Michael Flynn joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a solid gold show for you. We encourage you to invest in gold. Go to my friends at Allegiance Gold and make sure that you diversify just a little bit. You've seen the markets, they're going nuts. You're not an insider trader. You're not a traitor to our nation like Nancy Pelosi. And so you probably don't have all of the magical stock tips and picks. And who the hell knows what's going on with crypto, and who the hell knows what's going to happen in the future. Here's what you can see. Look at gold over the past 100 years. Look at the price of gold, invest, diversify a little bit. I do myself. Go with my friends at Allegiance. They're the best. Go to protectwithbenny.com today or call 844-66-BENNY. Get up to $5,000 in free silver with qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled by inflated stock values or crazy crypto market. ProtectWithBenny.com today. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been on a roll on this program. There's been a lot of news. Okay, Fannie Willis stuff, Nikki Haley dropping out, Super Tuesday, State of the Union. We've been traveling, doing documentaries. We've been working really, really hard. And I came into the studio today, right? And I said to Royce, "Man, boy, we've been working hard. Like this news cycle is going to kill me." And Royce looked at me and went, "Oh." And he held up a pair of handcuffs and he said, "You're going to jail. You're going to jail. You can't say that. You can't say this news cycle is going to kill you. What do you mean? What do you mean? Does that mean you're going to kill the news cycle? What does that mean?" And then he called the cops. The cops came. I'm actually broadcasting from a prison cell in Guantanamo Bay right now. Because you're not allowed to say things like that. No. You are not allowed to use alliteration in language. You would never be able to say the word bloodbath. And that's exactly what the entire internet, the entire world, freaking melting down at its very core, like the nuclear Chernobyl of 2024 has now happened. Donald Trump said the word bloodbath. Oh yeah, baby. Donald Trump said it. Okay? Donald Trump said it. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump said the word bloodbath this weekend. That is indeed a fact. Now, what the corporate media and these hucksters, hoaxsters, liars, vicious communists. What does Solzhenitsyn say? What does Alexander Solzhenitsyn say? The guy who reported, the Russian writer who went to the gulags and reported what life was like under Soviet Russia. They're lying. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. And they continue to lie. What they want you to believe is that Donald Trump said there's going to be a bloodbath if he's not elected president. Did Donald Trump say that? Ladies and gentlemen, there was a clip that was posted from the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris official X campaign website. X campaign website. Site at X. X profile. Check this out. Here we go. Trump, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. This is what they posted. This is where this all comes from. You can see 6 million people saw this, right? So, indeed, that is a quote in that 7-second clip. But ladies and gentlemen, if you just take a step back and watch in full context what's going on here, what Donald Trump was saying before and after, and not just in the 7 seconds, then you'll actually understand what's happening. And you'll realize how much you have been lied to. You'll realize how much these people hate you. Here's the full clip. We just got to get this out of the way. Let's put meat on the bones. We got a lot to talk about with this because this really says a lot about what's happening right now, that they're this desperate. And it also says a lot about how they've reacted because it means we're winning. There's a lot of good things happening here. But here, let's show. So that's the clip they sent out. Donald Trump, there's going to be a bloodbath if I don't win. Let's go ahead and roll the full tape, ladies and gentlemen. Rolls Royce, let's do it.
You know, Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole... That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine All he does is build car manufacturing plants. He's the biggest in the world.
They're such despicable liars. I mean, really, this is such a Potemkin village. This is such a kabuki theater that they pull on the American people. What's the old Winston Churchill quote? A lie gets halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to get its pants on. They didn't count, though, on us having the truth on our side. And the truth shall set you free. They're used to the old way where they can just lie with impunity. And they can lie to all of us, and they expect all of us to just swallow it up. Like the little birds in the nest. And the mama eagle comes in and just vomits into their mouths, and we're just like, we have nothing, there's no recourse. But there is a recourse. In fact, that same Biden-Harris account was completely nuked, ratioed into oblivion by the executive producer of this show, ALX. ALX was able to put the full clip in context here and was able to actually ratio the life out of this. Go show me the numbers on ALX's. ALX's post here doing way more numbers than the original. 3,000 reposts, 14,000 likes. We were able to check in real time this hoax and the creation of this narrative, but the narrative was out anyway. Look at these headlines. Check these headlines out. Look at this. Every single headline. Trump says there'll be a bloodbath. There'll be a bloodbath. There'll be a bloodbath. There'll be a bloodbath. January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. Bloodbath, bloodbath, bloodbath. The strategy is to take Trump literally when we all know how Trump speaks. And even in this clip, this is like particularly egregious because we know what Trump was saying. He's saying there'd be a bloodbath in the auto industry because China is building cheap EV plants in Mexico, expecting to just be able to ship in Chinese EVs into the country in a Joe Biden total sellout to China. Because what does China still have on Joe Biden? I mean, imagine what they got on the Biden family. And so their demands are effectively that we take Donald Trump literally when you could actually go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary here and see that the term bloodbath means a major economic disaster. Even if Donald Trump is just straight up saying there's going to be a bloodbath economically, you can see here a major economic disaster. That is quite literally the understood explanation of bloodbath. We've been able to nuke and ratio these people, but it didn't stop them from pushing yet another hoax. It didn't stop them, ladies and gentlemen, from trying to lie once again to the American people about what Donald Trump is saying. And they've pulled this before. This is an old playbook that they are using. There was a time when Donald Trump said that there were good people on both sides. This was the first Donald Trump alliteration hoax. Again, we all know how Donald Trump talks. We all know that Donald Trump uses flowery language. We all know how Donald Trump speaks at these things. And Donald Trump's pander and cadence as he's speaking is not linear, right? And so the goal would be to clip him out of context, as they did here, ladies and gentlemen. The Charlottesville lie is a lie that they told to say that Donald Trump called a neo-Nazi group very fine people. But all you have to do is actually watch the clip in its totality and see that that is entirely untrue. They've done this before, and they're doing it again. And what does it show you, ladies and gentlemen? It shows you deep and abiding desperation and fear and panic about 2024. They did this when Donald Trump first became president. This was in the first months of Donald Trump's presidency. They said that Donald Trump praised neo-Nazis, but if you actually watch the clip, you see a very different story. Watch.
You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? and the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Treated unfairly, sir. I'm sorry. I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No.
I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this. There are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country.
So, wait a second. What Donald Trump is saying there is that there's nuance, that the white supremacists should be condemned totally. You can hear that at the beginning of what he says. But the only thing that the media focuses in on with the camera, I don't know if we have that meme, the camera focusing in on the bloodbath statement. Get that for me. It was in the show prep this morning. Put it up on screen. The only thing, they will like zoom in the cameras on the one thing they want you to see, and they will stop you from seeing the full context. This is lies by attrition or by omission. It's going to be a bloodbath for the auto industry, Trump says. Media, bloodbath. Trump's calling for another January 6th. They did the same thing with Charlottesville. And what does this show you? This shows you that they are in panic. Donald Trump's been using this kind of language for a very long time. They're now looking. They're now desperate. They're now clawing and screeching and screaming for anything that they can get their hooks into. They will take the... This is a risk, right? Like, this is a risk. The risk is to just openly lie to everyone. That's the risk. It's a risky move. Because you can obviously fact check them. ALX, the executive producer of the show, ratioed the Biden-Harris campaign X account by just posting the truth. There's this other account, End Wokeness, that put up the tweet side by side. Let's grab that if we got it. It got close to 50 million views. We now have the power to break the narratives. And that's really special. That's something we didn't actually have a long time ago. Like, that's something we didn't have during the hoax of Trump saying there were good people on both sides. 46 million views. Let's see. Just look at that. 50 million views. Nailed it. 50 million views for the context of the clip. We can fight back now. The information war is not one directional. The way it used to be was the producers who are DNC plants and working directly, huddling directly with Democrat operatives, create narratives and then shove them through the pipeline of their control vectors, their TV shows and their print publications. And then that creates such an echo chamber that nobody is able to fact check that. And nobody is able, in fact, the fact checker is like, lie. We deal with this all the time on our site. You'll post a true thing on Facebook and a fact checker will literally fact check it with a lie. And we win those arguments. We win those arguments day and night. You have to go back and fight the fact checkers and to prove truth to them. And this entire system is crumbling. So it's important for us to, one, understand how to fight information and truth. The truth shall set you free. But two, maybe it's important to hold these people to their own standards. Like, for instance, here's Politico, which has been gasping about this bloodbath comment, using the exact term bloodbath. In 2014, Politico tweets, Democrats got pummeled last week at the ballot box. Next up, their bloodbath in the Capitol. Oh my, in the Capitol? A bloodbath inside the Capitol? Whoa! Somebody needs to shut down Politico. Oh, it gets worse. Here's Joe Biden in the year 2020 when the DNC rigged it against Bernie Sanders, schlonged Bernie Sanders once again. Bernie Sanders was well on his way to winning the Democrat nomination. It shows you exactly how radical the party truly is. And they were able to, of course, jiggle the handles and get Joe Biden across the finish line in South Carolina. We're able to utterly rig the thing for Joe Biden, signs of things to come. And Joe Biden is warning that there will be a bloodbath against Bernie Sanders. In Joe Biden's own words. Should we take Joe Biden's own words, quite literally? It's very interesting because Joe Biden, on the campaign trail, had literally talked about engaging in physical violence against Donald Trump, of all people. Should we believe him? Should we believe this literally? Should we take Joe Biden literally when he says something like this?
Don't I wish I were debating him? No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym. That's what I wish.
The president likes to portray himself. I love this. Likes to portray himself as a tough guy. When you were in high school, wouldn't you have liked to take the shot? Anyway, it's a different story, but anyway. A macho man.
Wow. Seems like somebody is perpetuating violence. Donald Trump's response, of course, to these taunts are picture perfect.
Take him behind the barn. In other words, once they take me behind the barn and go, and the fake news is saying it's wonderful. Then when I said, let him take me behind the barn, hit him, so they said, oh, that's terrible. He's a fascist. Trump is a fascist. No, if we were ever behind a barn, I would look at him and I'd go like this.
We don't deserve Trump. What else should we take Joe Biden literally at? I mean, we can play this game all day. Did Joe Biden literally threaten to kill a young black man because he had too much pomade in his hair? Did Joe Biden go get rusty chains to go beat a young poor black boy when Joe Biden was a lifeguard in Wilmington, Delaware? I mean, did this literally happen? Maybe it did. Maybe someone should investigate this. I mean, this seems like a crime. Seems like a hate crime, actually. Here's Joe Biden in his own words.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, hey, Esther, you, off the board, or I'll come up and drag you off. Well, he came off, and he said, I'll meet you outside. My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, I'll be waiting for you. He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, what am I going to do? He said, come down here in the basement where mechanics, where all the pool filter is. You know the chain, there used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up, he said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head. I said, you kidding me? He said, no, if you don't come back. And he was right.
I can't get over that story. Well, that should be the open for every show. We just play that for every show. Am I allowed to take Joe Biden literally? Because what Joe Biden literally just said was that he was going to wrap a chain around Corn Pop's head in response to Joe Biden using a slur against Corn Pop, saying he had too much pomade in his hair. Corn Pop had a rusty razor blade and was going to cut Joe. Sounds like hate crime. Maybe I just should take Joe Biden literally. Should I take Joe Biden literally here when Joe Biden says that he has created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history? Can I take Joe Biden literally here? I didn't see any breathless headlines about Joe Biden saying we've created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history. Where are the headlines? Can't we run with this? Can I just publish this headline day and night? He just admitted it. Watch.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
Oh, okay. Well, am I allowed to take him literally? Because he just said it, and you're all using this for Donald Trump. That's like a 7-second clip. You posted Donald Trump's 7-second clip. So you're saying now, suddenly, even though we've used the term bloodbath time and time and time again, millions of times, term bloodbath is a commonly used term. Laura Trump was on the show the other day, and she made a ton of news talking about how the RNC is going to hire Scott Presler. But we talked about the bloodbath at the RNC. We put up an article with Laura Trump just last Thursday, an article saying there's a bloodbath at the RNC, that she's causing that. I called her the angel of death on the show. Are you coming for me next? Or are you coming for yourselves? Because you all just used bloodbath like a day ago to describe what's happening at the RNC. They're firing a bunch of people. Am I allowed to take Joe Biden literally? When Joe Biden says that he's sold state secrets, he sold more state secrets than he can remember. Am I allowed to should I run with this? Is that the new rule? This is the new rule. Because Joe Biden's straight up admitting it. Here we go.
I was just thinking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
I've sold a lot of state secrets, Joe Biden says, at a meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. Can I take him? Can I take that literally? Joe Biden, I wrap chains around Corn Pop's neck. That's what Joe Biden says. I've created the greatest voter fraud organization in American history, and I've sold more state secrets than I can even remember. Sold them. We found out last week, in Robert Hur's testimony, that Joe Biden was shoving documents down his pants in the Senate, classified documents down his pants inside of the secure skiff, and then going and giving them to his ghostwriter to go make money. Well, doesn't that sound like selling state secrets? I mean, Joe Biden's literally admitting it. Can I take him literally? It'd be amazing to apply this both ways. It'd be remarkable, actually, if you apply it both ways. If you go through and parse this out, what you'll find is that the desperation and the reeking, screaming, seething of the corporate press because they are so scared of Donald Trump coming back, that's what this reeked. This isn't a position of power. You don't go after Donald Trump for stuff like that. This is super low information. This is a low information hoax. This is not some higher level functioning. This is the dumbest possible people. And of course there's going to be Blue-Anon people that are drooling through their 3 masks, right? Watching whatever Dr. Fauci says and going to be sitting there looking, nodding their head and not paying attention, right? Of course there's going to be those people. But the vast majority of Americans still have functional prefrontal cortexes and can watch this show and can see on social media what a lie this is. It is a lie. And also, it's a super low effort lie because you could just go back on a simple supercut and find these people using the term bloodbath. Did they literally mean bloodbath? Did the corporate press literally mean bloodbath when they did this a week ago?
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies
as part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath
bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath there, shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats.
A bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you. And
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long.
Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
Predicted to be a bloodbath.
May not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
More of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
We have an election to win. So we're not going to sit here and spend the entire rest of the show screaming, calling names to the media. It's just important to note that we are winning. It's good to give our side a little bit of credit, because this narrative at the very least on the X platform, ALX and I are doing our prep for the show, and every single person that pushed this narrative got destroyed on that platform. Got wrecked. Obviously, ALX was doing some of the wrecking. Elon Musk got Joe Scarborough to delete one of his posts about this. I don't know if we have the screenshot up, but let's grab that. Joe Scarborough pushed this hoax and was shamed so ruthlessly that he had to delete, well, he should delete his account, but had to delete everything that he said. Here you go. They had to delete his lies. It's incredible. It's unbelievably spectacular, and it's leading to one of the better meltdowns that we've seen in a long time. And the meltdown goes like this. Donald Trump is winning in 2024. It's too big to rig. It's outside of the margin of fraud. So the best that we can do is create more hoaxes, about as many hoaxes as we possibly can, from the party that brought you Russiagate, the both sides hoax, that brought you every COVID hoax, that has lied to you about basic biology, that has lied to you, obviously, about the BLM Antifa riots, that lied to you about every major news event in modern history, that continues to perpetuate lies to you. Those that you should somehow still trust us when we said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Now Hunter Biden suing people for distributing his laptop material. You know who put that all together, by the way? Anthony Blinken. Anthony Blinken is the Secretary of State. He was rewarded for that lie. Anthony Blinken was given a promotion for creating the Hunter Biden Russian disinformation lie. Rewarded. This is how the system works. And they're finally facing the music. They're finally facing the hard reality that we have more of an audience than they do. And that we are more powerful than them. Check streaming numbers versus terrestrial broadcast numbers. Whoop. We won. We've won. And so it is important for us. We don't often do a media criticism show because it's pointless. They're already gone, right? There's already been a bloodbath in the media space. We can do article after article about how many jobs are being laid off. Deadspin just went out of business last week. Vice went out of business the week before. BuzzFeed's about to go out of business. CBS, NBC, ABC laying off massive staff layoffs. Tens of thousands of people losing their jobs. Why? Because of situations like this. Because they've beclowned themselves, and all you had to do was tell the truth. The purpose of the Fourth Estate was to speak truth to power. That's why press was important. The way our founders put it together was there's going to be freedom of the press, which is going to allow them to critique the powerful. It's not going to allow them to lie about the powerful. You're able to speak to the people that are currently in power. That wouldn't be Donald Trump. That would be Joe Biden. And you're able to fact check them. So what should have happened in a purist constitutionalist vacuum is Joe Biden lies about Donald Trump saying bloodbath, and the entire Fourth Estate, as they call the media, turn on Joe Biden and correct that lie with context. That's speaking truth to power. Now what the media does is speak power to truth. They have joined sides with Joe Biden and are perpetuating his lie to you. And that is why they're going out of business. That is why every single show, ladies and gentlemen, we take great joy in salting our libs. Often those libs exist in the corporate press, and today is no different. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a very special dual Salt That Lib today with Jen Psaki and Joe Scarborough, both having meltdowns this morning. Get your salt shakers ready. It's been a long weekend, so I need some sodium. Let our cups overflow, ladies and gentlemen, with salt. Grab your salt shakers. Here we go. The Salt That Lib of the day. Jen Psaki, Joe Scarborough, dual meltdown. The salt must flow.
It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That will be the least of it. Now, the Trump team quickly said last night, nothing to see here. He was just talking about the auto industry. Consider the full context, everyone. Otherwise, it's irresponsible. Well, if they want us to consider the full context, let's do just that. Because the full context is that Trump kicked off the same exact rally by saluting the people who were convicted for the deadly assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, all to the tune of the national anthem sung by a choir of imprisoned insurrectionists. The full context is that some of the first words out of Trump's mouth last night, same rally, were thanking those rioters and calling them patriots. The full context is that he also said in this same rally, quote, if this election isn't won, I'm not sure that you'll ever have another election in this country. The full context is that he went on to say some undocumented immigrants are, quote, not people. And of course, the full context is that this is much bigger than one single speech. This embrace of political violence, this dehumanizing language. This is what Donald Trump has been preaching for years. In January, he warned that there will be, quote, bedlam in this country if his criminal prosecution derailed his campaign. Late last year, he echoed the dehumanizing language of Adolf Hitler, comparing his political opponents to vermin and saying immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. Last month, he said there would be potential death and destruction if he was charged in the Manhattan criminal probe. And during his first term, he flat out refused to condemn the political violence at a white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, saying there were very fine people on both sides.
Obviously, he's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not.
Oh, man, what an Easter egg. Did you see Jen Psaki repeat the both sides hoax? It's a hoax within a hoax. It's like a Russian nesting doll. Oh, can't say Russian nesting doll. Oh, man. Oh, you can't say that. They're going to kill me on here. Oh, no, you can't say something like, oh, no, we're all going to jail. The rules are being reality is being broken by these people because they cannot live inside reality. They have absorbed the fact that they live inside these hermetically sealed bubbles, and they cannot accept the reality that the vast majority of the country hates them, hates their worldview, isn't buying what they're selling, doesn't want our jobs to be shipped to Mexico, doesn't want our borders to be open, our currency to be in collapse, and doesn't want World War III. We don't want what you're selling. We do not like your ideologies. We think they're poison. We want you to stay the hell away from our children. And we know you're lying to us. And so this is the meltdown stage. Such a great distillation of exactly how rotted to the core all of this is. And the Praetorian Guard of Democrats trotting out some of the biggest hoaxers to try and push this thing, and it's not working, right? Like, that's what's really uplifting. This didn't work. It didn't go. It didn't work, right? It crashed up against a wall, right? The wall of truth. But man, they tried. As soon as they were able to get that clip, they trotted out, who else? The Witch of Wall Street herself. Insider trading, slay queen, Nancy Pelosi, gets wheeled in to CNN or MSNBC, I can't remember which one, and pushes the hoax live on TV. This was like the rallying cry, right? This was the rallying cry. This was the banging of the drum. Like, we found our new hoax. Remember Nick Sandman? Sorry, banging of the drum. Remember Nick Sandman? Remember that hoax? Remember Jesse Smollett? I mean, you lose track, actually. Nancy Pelosi, this shows you exactly how these get manufactured in real time. Listen to this witch on TV pushing these lies. How do you live with yourself, man? How do you do it? Watch.
He's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about? Praising Hitler, praising the Russians. Honestly, I mean, condemning our soldiers for losing or dying in war or being captured in war. He said, what's wrong with Russia? They defeated Hitler. What about the millions of Americans who risked or gave their lives? What about him saying that soldiers buried in Europe, he didn't want to visit them because they were losers?
So again, it's the hoax within the hoax. It's the Russian nesting doll hoax. They're wrapping their hoaxes inside of more hoaxes. Donald Trump never said that about Europe. Donald Trump never said there were great people on both sides. It really like boggles the mind, because how do you live like that? Right? Like, do you have any soul? How do you look yourself in the mirror knowing that everything in your worldview is a lie? All of it. Your ideologies, the sick perversion you're pushing on our kids, like that, all of it's a lie, right? And that's all of it's making life worse. How do you live like that? I don't know. How do you live such an intellectually dishonest and morally dishonest life? I couldn't imagine. I mean, I really couldn't imagine. It must take such a sunken, blackened soul to be able to do that. To be able to just live a duality like that. No intellectual consistency. No honesty. They're lying. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. They continue to lie. But now, finally, there is a pushback. There wasn't a pushback for years on Donald Trump. Both sides lie until people really started looking into it. PragerU did a really good video on that. By the way, I think it's quite interesting. Nancy Pelosi, I mean, if I may, producer reminding me, we do have this clip. During January 6th, Nancy Pelosi is saying she wants to punch Trump in the face. I mean, should we take her literally? I mean, that would mean you're getting arrested. You can't do that. He's the president. He's the executive branch. Are you allowed to say these kind of things? Should Nancy Pelosi get criminal charges? Should we take Nancy Pelosi literally in this clip?
Secret Service said they have dissuaded him from coming to Capitol Hill. They told him they don't have the resources to protect him here. So at the moment he is not coming, but that could change.
Oh, he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my
wow,
moment.
I would pay to see
I've
that.
been waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out, and I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to be happy.
You've heard us talk about this before. How was Nancy Pelosi waiting for trespassing? How is that? How did she know? How did she know those were going to be the charges leveled against the vast preponderance of J6ers? Trespassing. It really is credence. I mean, if you actually just look at it, just as an independent observer, you don't have to be a MAGA Republican. You don't have to be a America First. You don't have to wear a MAGA hat. You just have to look at it with like open and clear, independent eyes, and you can see what's happening. You can see what this is. You can see how much they hate you. Can you imagine hating somebody this much that you like work so hard to lie to them? And they're desperate. I mean, that's really what it is. I don't know if we have recent polls. Did ALX have any recent polls? Just grab me some recent polls, ALX. We'll show you why they're desperate. And we'll also show you the pushback. One of the favorites, and a friend of us who's awesome, Anna Paulina Luna, had a great response to this on Fox. Let's go.
Still pushing this whole idea of insurrection of Donald Trump. We played the soundbite of President Trump at the top of the show, how he said there would be a bloodbath in the auto industry if Biden gets his way, jamming down the throats of Americans' EV vehicles. And the mainstream media completely mangled his words. And look at these headlines that the mainstream media put out today on Trump's commentary about bloodbath. And then the Biden-Harris administration comes out with a note and a statement saying he said bloodbath. If he's not elected, he's promising another January 6th, Congresswoman. So what are you going to do about it?
Oh, I mean, it starts with, first of all, we have to shatter this narrative. I mean, to see, if you look at their press release, Maria, they said that this was a racist attack on black and brown people. Meanwhile, you have people like Nadler, people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying that if we don't have open borders, who's going to be in the fields to pick the crops, which is absolutely in itself the definition of prejudice and racism. The fact is that, again, we are going to see a massive push from now until Election Day using social media, using the media to try to take everything that President Trump is doing and saying out of context.
Look at this poll. Look at this. Look at this one. National general election among independents. Independents. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last one. This is the last poll that ALX sent, Rolls-Royce. Trump up 14 points. There it is. This is why they're pushing this. They've lost the middle. They've lost the middle. And so they poll test this stuff. They say Donald Trump calling for a bloodbath. Do you want a bloodbath? Don't look at Lake and Riley. Don't look at the New York subway system. Don't look at your own streets. Don't look at the slaughter happening in your own country. Don't look at the Border Patrol. What's happening to them? Reports out that there have been some horrible events on the border. I mean, we're trying to confirm this. That, like, apparently the agents are now getting fired at and getting wounded horribly by the cartels, because of course, if you have a standing army you're not going to stop there. America's open for the taking because of Joe Biden. Don't look at the actual bloodbath of Lake and Riley getting killed by the bare hands of a criminal alien from Venezuela. Don't look at that. That's not a bloodbath. We won't report on that. We'll just report on Trump's words, and we'll take them out of context. We'll twist them. And we will never, ever apologize. And American people, they're just sick of it. They're sick of it. And we've won. That's why they're doing it. They've lost the middle. These people are vicious radicals. They've lost the middle. They've lost this is the general election. This was the first poll. So the national general election, you have Donald Trump up 8. Donald Trump, defeating handily Newsom, Michelle Obama. This is shocking. I haven't seen this one. This is amazing. Donald Trump up 7 points on Michelle Obama, up 17 points on Gavin Newsom. They're done. They're toast. They're finished. So they're going to have to lie in order to try and keep power. And that's the stage that we're in right now, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's our job. It is, in fact, our charge, our calling, to seek out truth and to bring onto this program and obviously to speak with people who have spent their lives seeking out truth and fighting for righteousness in this country, fighting for a better America. One of those people is General Michael Flynn. We're super honored to have the general on the show. General, thank you so much for coming on the program. We are really thrilled to have you.
Yeah, this is great. You know, I was just listening to your last thing on Lake and Riley. I think people need to know that this illegal savage crushed her skull. I mean, this girl was out, beautiful, beautiful life ahead of her, you know, student. I mean, she's out jogging, just doing, you know, what a lot of people will do and not worried about a thing, but focus on her future, and just gets savagely attacked by this individual who's here illegally. And this is going to continue to happen in many, many more ways. So, I mean, I don't want to leave what you just said without a little bit more descriptor, because this is not just somebody gets killed, right? We just throw these things around. This young lady, this young woman was savagely and brutally beaten. And yeah, I mean, it actually, I get very emotional about it, because I just have witnessed so many things in my time in my life, in my military career, especially in many of the battlefields that I've been around, and I know what a savage is. I know what a savage is, and what savages are capable of doing. And we are facing savages, and I don't use that. In fact, I use that word very precisely. So anyway, I appreciate coming on with you for a few minutes here, Benny, and everything that you're doing, what your show is, your audience. I mean, and I'm going to be putting something out here on my X Spaces. Thank God we're able to, or on X. Thank God we're able to use X, because Jesus, where would we be without it, right? I think I wasn't really sure about Elon Musk. I had met Elon a while back, but back in 2016, 2017 timeframe. And anyway, we're lucky to be able to be back on there. But mark my words, these are everything that you just talked about, and the things that I'm going to talk about here in this movie shortly. These are all knowable things. Okay, these are things that we know. These are the things that we can imagine. What these people are going to try to come up with, Benny, and this is for your audience and for your ability to influence. They're going to try to come up with things that are unknowable. And and in the world of military operations, or even in the world of just things, we call them black swan events, right? Black swan events are things that nobody imagined could occur, and yet they did, right? And then they have these incredibly, mostly devastating effects. So I think that's what we have got to be thinking about. And I think as we talk to our audiences and we look for feedback from different people, all of these things, and then we have to be prepared on our side. We have to be prepared to immediately respond to these scenarios, right? Like, I think a scenario is these people just decide, look, there's no way in the world that they can win a legitimate, fair election, so let's not have one. So in order to not have one, how do they create the conditions in order to not have an election? Now, that's a scenario. It's not a scenario that I want to have as an outcome, but that is a scenario that I can imagine. And so
how that work, General?
Yeah. Well,
are you predicting a black swan event before the election that would stop the election?
I am predicting some type of an event that will cause such a dramatic shift in what is happening. I mean, we already are talking about an economic collapse, right? Because all the central bank digital currency craze that's going on right now, and the manipulation of the global economy, and certainly the U.S. economy. So we know about that. That's not a black swan event. But how do you achieve it? How do you what is the proverbial straw, right? That's pulled out of the camel or whatever that causes that. So there has to be, and the fact that I can think about these things, because my world has always been the world of thinking about how our enemies are thinking. And so if I can think these things, then they certainly can, because I don't assess myself as some evil, genius, but I studied enough of our enemies, and that includes both domestic and foreign now, especially now. So that's where I'm coming from. On the movie front, because I know we don't have that much time. On the movie front, this is it's a lifetime in the making, but it's certainly a couple of years. In it, it's a very raw story. I think people are going to see, people will meet members of my family that they have not met before. My family is a very strong family. Tucker Carlson is also in this film. Devin Nunes is also in this film. Very raw, very, very honest, very authentic, very sort of truth-telling. I do personally call out people in the administration prior to Trump, so in the Obama administration, to include Obama. I also call out people in the Trump administration, and a couple that are very specific, and I'll sort of withhold that so I tease that a little bit out there. So I want people to understand that this is not just about the ruthlessness of Obama, but this is also about the manipulation and the way that people in our own uniparty establishment want to they want to keep things as is. They love the as is world of Washington, D.C. And if we continue to, down this path of as is Washington, D.C., things normal, we're not going to have a country here after if we have a free and fair election. Which, number one, I don't think we're going to have a fair election. I want to believe, and probably more of me believes that we're going to have an election, Benny. But fair is in the eye of the beholder.
So, General, I want to talk about the movie, but I want to preface this by saying it's now incontrovertible that Barack Obama directed the investigation on you. According to Strzok's own personal notes, Barack Obama directed this investigation. Biden raised the Logan Act violation angle to try and get at you. They were obsessed with going after you. Why? Why did they hate you so very much, General?
Yeah, and they still do. I mean, MSNBC and Associated Press last week had a really nasty piece, a couple of pieces on me. MSNBC Live, spoke directly to this. Is only a week ago, so this stuff has been going on. This has been over for a while. So why? The answer to why is that, number one, when you look at the Trump administration and the immediate circle around him, there were only a couple of people that really understood sort of Washington, D.C. and some of the inner workings of the intelligence community, the security state, even the diplomatic community, like me. Even people like Mike Pence, Reince Priebus, they understood the political establishment. They didn't understand the inner workings of the intelligence community, the diplomatic community, the Defense Department community, right? The military industrial complex, the security state complex, even the censorship complex that we now know about. Those are all areas of expertise that I had. You don't run one of the largest intel agencies in the world without having knowledge about programs that do exist. And immediately during the transition, I dug into some of these programs because I wanted to put them in front and center as to the kinds of things that we needed to change almost immediately. And so I started during transition, and I talk about this in the movie. And then when I came into the White House, I called them back in, right? And when I did, boy, they shit their pants, Benny. So, to be polite, a little bit Irish on you, but they did, and I know it. I know they did. And I had already done some of this in the Defense Intelligence Agency, where I went after, I did some auditing in there, right? I called for an audit. I mean, the Defense Department has never gone through an audit that they passed, all right? The DIA, which I ran, one of the largest intel agencies in the world, never passed an audit. I studied 10 years of audits that were done, classified audits that were done prior to me taking over. They didn't pass one. And so I started one when I got in there, and I wanted to make it very transparent. And so, that caused a lot of ruffles. And I also, in the movie, I do call out this. There's a great picture. I don't know if you can stop it right there. There's another great picture right there, right? Of Flynn sitting with and there's another great picture, right? With Putin. Wait till you hear what my brother has to say about Putin in the movie. But that picture right there, I mean, just look at those, right? Mueller, Clapper, Brennan, Flynn. I mean, oh my God. And then this guy in the right here was part of the, I think he was the head of the diplomatic security state from the State Department. But that picture says it all. And those individuals, okay, or representatives of those, and in this case, Mueller was out, Comey was in, when I took over as the National Security Advisor, or when I was transitioning in to become the National Security Advisor. And I specifically talk in the movie in fair detail about the meeting on 5 January that you just referenced a little while ago, Benny. 5 January 2017, in the Oval Office, Obama sitting behind the Resolute desk, is the day the coup began. The coup against America to take this country over and to take us down this path. And I say, if we don't get this election right, we are going to be the United Socialist States of America, and then worse, instead of the United States of America. So this movie is my effort to basically put out a lot of truth You know, like what I say, deliver the truth. It's Flynn, deliver the truth, whatever the cost, and do it right now. You know, I mean, if I had done it a couple of years ago, there's many things that we still didn't know. There's still evidence coming out of my case, Benny. So the timing for this is really, I think it's actually perfect timing. It's post our primaries as we head into the final stretch of probably the most consequential election that our country has ever been through, the most historically consequential election, because this election will decide and determine the direction of the United States of America going forward.
So everybody in our audience knows that you were railroaded and that you were enemy number one because of what you just detailed. You knew where all the bodies were buried, probably metaphorically and literally. And they didn't want somebody with your capacities to be at the level where you could actually end programs or bring change or expose some of the evil things that our intel agencies were doing. Now, Donald Trump is looking like he's heading towards victory. Now, who knows what they could come up with, but as at level, Donald Trump's going to win like 40 states in 2024. And so it's going to be a landslide. And there have been a lot of rumblings about potentially reappointing you Director of National Intelligence, FBI Director. Would you accept a role like that in Trump, a second Trump administration?
Only on one condition, that I could actually accomplish what I think needs to be accomplished with reform, government reform. You know, I mean, I would obviously keep, if I were put into these positions, whatever that position is, that I would have one condition, that I could do the things that I know need to be done, and I believe that President Trump would allow that. I mean, some of these organizations, Benny, need to be completely shut down.
Could you name them? Could you illuminate for us, like who needs to be shut down and what would you do? What changes?
Oh yeah, I mean, and you know, and like, because people typically, to me, they'll go the DOJ, the FBI, kind of like you just did. Honestly, I think the first institution that needs to be shut down is the Department of Education. There is no rhyme or reason why the Department of Education. There's nothing that the Department of Education has done since, I think it was Jimmy Carter that created it, that has been that they have accomplished, that has made our population smarter. Nothing. The Department of now, somebody's going to throw a lot of money at the Republican Party and go, I want to be the secretary of whatever. That is a department, a large department with a large budget that does nothing to make America great. Okay, so the Department of Education needs to be shut down. I mean, close. Thank the people, give them a 30-day stipend, let them walk out the door, lock everything up, take their badges, go away. Then there's these other organizations that are within the U.S. intelligence community, and what the CIA was originally chartered to do and what they have become, and what the FBI was originally chartered to do and what they have become. And I'm kind of in the realm of where I think Vivek Ramaswamy has said a couple of times about the FBI. I'm for what he has talked about, which is if not a completely shutting down and recreating that kind of a capability, then just shutting it down. I mean, they are so, that particular organization, and people need to understand, the FBI is a subordinate to the Department of Justice. Okay, it's not like some extra terrestrial being out there. They are part of the DOJ. So the DOJ inside of Washington, D.C. And I know, like you say, sort of metaphorically and probably literally, where the bodies are buried. These are the kinds of things that I know. And this is why they needed to get me out of there as fast as they could. Because, even things like the National Security Council, when I took it over, there was like 500 people. At the height of the Cold War, in the late 1980s, there was like 25 to 30 people on the National Security Council. I take it over, and there's 500 people. It's insane. And all of them, all those people, Benny, in the national security apparatus, they're all spies. They're all spying on each other, or they're spying on the White House. They're spying on, and most of them, because the Democrat Party, the Democrat Socialist Party, has done a tremendous job, masterful job, strategically, to build into our infrastructure, to build into our institutions, all these people that run, when we talk about the deep state, it's not political appointees who are some political hack. These are people who are deeply embedded bureaucratic ticks in the system of government that we have right now. And I know how to get to them. I do know how to get to them.
So you talked about bodies metaphorically and literally. I got to set you up for that, but something's come out recently with Judge Napolitano in a conversation with Trump about the JFK files. Trump promised to release the JFK files. The deadline came due 50 years since the assassination, and nothing, there were no files released. And the question is why? And Donald Trump said, if you saw what I saw, according to Judge Napolitano, then you just understand you couldn't release them. Do you have any idea what the president saw?
Yeah. So all the assassinations of Kennedys, both Kennedys, John and Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, even Malcolm X, all of these assassinations have to be revisited, and we have to and now that's hindsight, and so the transparency to the American people, so the American people have some sense of hey, okay, so our government is this bad, all right, so how are we fixing it? Because if we don't revisit them, we can never change what we need to change. And I know you're wanting to show some of this. I don't know if I can't hear that, but if you want to show that, yeah.
It's just the we're putting the post up saying, sort of paraphrasing what Judge said, but we're very interested in I don't think that Judge Napolitano will get an appointment.
He wouldn't. And
I bet you'll get an appointment though. So
yeah. So the judge. So what I'm saying is that all these assassinations have to be revisited. They all of them need to be completely. All the information behind them need to be released.
Wow.
It will basically confirm what a lot of people in this country already believe, and what 99% of the people in this country believe, and maybe it's the only guy that doesn't is maybe Joe Biden, right? That doesn't believe this, that our government is so deeply corrupted and has been for many, many years. And when we think about why, what is it that we are hiding, and what do we need? Why do these people want to continue to get away with these things in the future? And one of the things that I talk about in the movie, which is interesting because I do talk about this, there's a couple of types of assassinations, right? There's the physical assassinations that used to take place in the 60s and 70s because people could get away with it. The forensics capabilities, the DNA analysis, we didn't have any of that stuff. Now, and that's changed really over the last 10 to 20 years. I'll tell you, a lot of it's changed because of things that we learned on the battlefield, because we got really good at doing forensics of bomb attacks, right? IED attacks. And so we're much better. So now the assassination is by narrative, right? And by lawfare. So Trump is being assassinated by both narrative and lawfare. And there's no way in the world this guy didn't, Trump, he didn't commit any of these 91 felonies, 700 something years. This is such a political assassination. Okay, this is a political assassination by narrative, by lawfare, because there's no way in the world that they could get away with an attempt. I don't know, I'm speculating, but maybe that's why Trump stops his caravans and goes and eats at McDonald's just along the way, because he doesn't want to eat whatever the hell they're going to feed him, right? I mean, I'm joking a little bit here, but maybe not. So all of these assassinations have to be relooked. The roles of our government agencies. I mean, if you go back and you look at the Church Commission, you look at, Gerald Ford was on that. You got the Dulles was on that. I mean, there's so much manipulation by our government, and so those that are going to see this show, they're going to lose their minds. That emoji that's got the guy blowing his head up, right? I love it. Screw these people, because, like I say, last week the MSNBC is calling me a Christian nationalist nut. Okay, so I'm a Christian. I'm an Irish Catholic kid from a lower middle class family, and I'm a nationalist. Okay, now that means I love my country. You got it. Nut. That's in the eye of the beholder, right?
We cannot encourage you enough, ladies and gentlemen. Flynn, the documentary feature film. Yeah. You can go see it at www.flynnmovie.com/showings, and you can see the showings here on your screen. You did say something, and I just want to grab hold of it, because you said, I need to look at the CIA. If Trump were to appoint me again, I would look directly at the CIA because of their enormous departure from their mission. Can you expound on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think, and the CIA has too much control over all elements of our government. Okay. I mean, we know, and this is touched on in the movie, we know the relationship that they have with the media. Okay. So, and they've had a long-term relationship with going back to Hollywood, right?
Yes.
And I mean, going back, way back, when it transitioned from the OSS into the current day CIA. So that relationship has been going on for a long time. There are people on both sides of that, but it's also it's like the infiltration when we talk about spying inside of our own government by the Chinese or the Russians or whoever, right? That's the spy versus spy. If you remember the old Mad magazines, right? That shit actually, happens. But inside of our own government, in order to control the outcome of events or to control the outcome of budgets, to control the outcome of decisions, this is where the intelligence community and principally the CIA has placed themselves in positions of authority and power. And this also includes the legislative branch, right? The CIA is supposed to be an executive branch element, led by the president, whoever the president of the United States. But when you start looking at staffers in Congress, when you start looking at people in the judiciary, particularly in Washington, D.C., and where they came from, it's kind of that pendulum of, okay, we got to get some people over here. And this goes back a long way. And I think that's part of what we have to understand as America, because we can't have this. We cannot have this. Now, maybe I'm too pie in the sky, Benny. Maybe I'm too, I'm too much, because I feel like, these are big problems, but they can be solved. They can be solved by really strong leaders. And that's why Donald Trump is like, they hate this man. They hate Trump so much because he beat them at their own game, and he beat the heir apparent in Hillary Clinton, right? They could not have that happen again, because the plan, Benny, the overall plan was 8 years of Barack Obama, 8 years of Hillary Clinton. And Benny, you and I would not be having this conversation today.
Yeah. I mean, they did as much as they character assassination. You certainly, sir, would know precisely how that worked. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people have big time renaissances and like revivals. And we're really excited about that. I don't know if you're close. I don't know if you speak with Donald Trump or if you're still like close or tied in.
I do. I'm going to be at Mar-a-Lago tomorrow night for a big old Catholics for Catholics event. We got some great people showing up tomorrow night. Jimmy Caviezel is a friend, and Jack Posobiec, who you know, and some other crazy Catholics, right? I mean, all us Catholics, because the Catholic vote, for your audience, the Catholic vote is the largest voting bloc in the country. Okay, Christians is the overall largest voting bloc, but inside of the Christian voting bloc, and that's why I say, like, independents. I mean, I always tell people, I grew up as a Kennedy Democrat. We grew up as Democrats in a lower middle income Irish Catholic family up in the Northeast. Kennedy was kind of our guy. And so, but it's like we never really cared so much about the politics as we could, cared about the country. And this is why these people, Donald Trump loves this country, and he knows exactly what's happening. And boy, are they trying to assassinate this man. They're going to try to put him into jail. I don't know if we can we have a president run from prison? Probably, because we'd still vote for him. We'd probably, we'd still go for this man. I mean, we need to have, and number one, he's proven. I always say, and I talk about this in the movie, I mean, the guy let me go. Okay, I got it, but I understand why. And I describe that in the film, because I think it's important for people to understand, because I get all kinds of, bitches and complaints about, well, Flynn's this and Flynn's that, all kinds of weird shit especially on X. I love it. Sometimes I respond, and because I'm in this game, okay, and this game is not a game to me. This is about the future of our country. I have children and I have grandchildren. This is the most consequential election in U.S. history, because it will change the direction of our country from this experiment in democracy called a constitutional republic to potentially a communist Marxist outcome. May take a few years to get us there, but the rise of the security state will take a much greater precedent, and they'll take over. They will take over, and they'll ruin they'll come after guys like me and others. Maybe not you, but I venture to say you too. They'll shut your stuff down quickly because I see you all the time. And so my answer is yes, and we've got to get behind him. One of the things that he needs to know, because he's fighting tooth and nail. And I'll make one other comment here about something I see a lot of people bitching about. The people bitch about, some of the people that he picks for, he endorses, or some of the things that he does. This country is a huge country, and we need to win. Okay, we need to win. It's kind of like, a coach on the sidelines. He doesn't necessarily think, all the players are great. He just knows that particular guy's a great wide receiver, and he's got to go in at this 3rd and long or whatever, right? So, but I may not like the way he dresses, off game days or whatever. So, there's a lot of that's out there. Trump has to get us to a place where we can win. Okay, we must win. Once we win, then bar the door. We can create a whole new set of whatever they want to call them, policies, things about accountability and all the kinds of things that we've been talking about here, and get to where the country is back on the rails. Because right now, Benny, this country is off the rails. We're not like that, leaning down. We're off the rails. We need to get back on the rails, and it's going to take at least 4 years to get some recovery where we got some breathing space. And this is why I think the choice for VP for Trump is a really it's significant.
You like Vivek?
I like him. I met him. I've talked with him. I've spoken with him. I do like him. My jury is out on everybody, and I don't think Trump has come to that. I mean, he's got a list of people and all that. I'm certain that he's, but he's the master at that. Pull the fish in, right? Pull the fish in, because it is a moment of suspense. Because one of the things to be considering when we talk about the VP position, which can happen, is post that election, that person then could carry us another 8 years. So that's potentially, because I can tell you, a lot of people I talk to around the country, they ask me, about that position, and we need, because everybody knows 4 years ain't going to be enough. We're going to need much more time. So we're going to need somebody in there, whoever he decides, to be able to, sort of hold us as we go down this very rapidly moving river, and being able to stay afloat and breathe and fix this country. I do, in terms of Vivek, and there's others, but particularly in him, I like the way he talks about things. Now, I did a thing with him the other day. I know we're way over in this thing here, but I know that we did this. He and I had a conversation the other day, and really all I really wanted to know, because I've listened to everything he said. I've listened to all of his speeches. While he was on his own presidential campaign. Now that he's out there helping Trump, I wanted to know about his family. I wanted to know about his children and his wife and his mother and father, because I think that that's part of who we are. When you start to really dig into somebody's life like that, and we had a great conversation about it, and it's public. It's on. You can go to patriot.tv, right? You can see that interview, because I wanted to know who he was growing up and why he made the decisions that he made. I know why I made the decisions I made to join the Army, right? I know that. I grew up as a kid. I was born on a military base. My father's retired sergeant, World War II, Korea vet. And so I joined the Army, right? That's just something I wanted to do. I wanted to know why Vivek wanted to become a capitalist, right? Because he became a capitalist and he became damn good at it. So yeah, I mean, we're talking about a lot about Vivek, but because he's got to be one of those guys in the mix, right? He's got to be one of those guys in the mix. And I do think when Trump makes that decision, he's got to be thinking about how to use the vice president position, okay? Not only while he's the president, but when that person, takes the country for 8 years prior to that, so the next 12 years. Because, I think, and I do talk about this, Pence, right? Pence. I mean, talk about a guy who I think, screwed the country. And frankly, people pick, there's some responsibility for the leader and for the commander in chief. But I think I think the vice president is not just going to be some ceremonial position. We can't have that. We got to have a vice president who doesn't screw us on another, COVID, whatever the task force was, right?
Yes.
I think that we have to have a vice president that takes things on that may be the government reform role. Maybe that's it. And then the president, and I'll finish with this, and then I do got to go. And I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time and showing pieces of the film. A president of the United States has two responsibilities. I mean, overall, they got to protect the safety and security of the people of this country, but they have really two responsibilities. One, to keep us out of war, right? Don't start a goddamn war. Keep us out of it. And number two, grow the economy. Make the economy as strong as possible so every American thrives. Trump pretty much did that. He did those two things. I mean, all these other things you can throw in, all these other, subtext to those two key bullets, grow the economy, keep us out of war. That's what a president of the United States must do. Everything else, you're supposed to have all these other great people, but I love the Millet, President Millet model. The one where he's like ripping off the freaking Velcro off of his whiteboard. I love it. I mean, that's what I want to see. I want that to happen because we don't have, 90% of the shit that goes on in our government right now is totally out of control and frankly unnecessary. If the government shut down, if Washington, D.C. shut down for a month, right, we wouldn't know it. And if they didn't tell us, right, we wouldn't know that they were shut down. We really wouldn't. And the next time they want to put this is for all states governors that watch this. Next time that you get a tax from the federal government, tell them to send you a goddamn invoice and outline in detail what that money's going to go to. And if that money's going to go to, Hamas or Iran, and you're a red state governor, you're a Republican governor, give them the Italian salute, right? And let them know, look, we'll pay for the roads, we'll give the money for the military, but we're not going to give a dime of federal taxes from this state to pay Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I mean, and now that's way out there, but that's the kind of stuff that we got to be thinking about, Benny.
For those who haven't read between the lines, it is the Iran deal that actually got the general out of sorts with Barack Obama. And that's a whole nother podcast. We really hope that you'll come back for something long form. I feel like this conversation, I have 20 more questions for you, probably 200 more questions for you from after that. We hope you'll come back. Maybe we can do something more long form. General, it's been an honor to have you. Everyone must go see Flynn documentary feature film. You can find out where it's playing and where you can see it at flynnmovie.com/showings.
God bless. Thank you, Benny.
Thank you, General.
All right. See ya.
Whoo, man. That was wide ranging. Michael Flynn has never been on the program before. We're thrilled to get a chance to chat with him. I had so many questions that we just really, truly didn't get a chance to talk about. We should do something long form with the general. What a wealth of knowledge. What a fascinating guy. And what an energy. You can see why the deep state hated that guy, because he does actually have the energy that would be required, that must be brought to bear to do proper government reform for a metastasized, cancerous, poison bureaucracy that we currently have in a stranglehold on everything that we're doing in this country. What if we had a free economy? What if we actually had a free country? What if we had intel agencies that did their jobs and just protected Americans and didn't go after J6ers? There's this crazy story of how the CIA had agents deployed during January 6th. What the hell's that about? Boy, I don't know. I've been waiting for trespassing at the U.S. Capitol. You all know the clip. It's amazing. Truly amazing. Oh, yeah. Producers are saying, Benny Flynn Vivek podcast. Yeah, totally. Let's totally do that. Totally do that. That would be great, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Going straight from there into some very good news. James Comer is saying that he may be sending more criminal referrals because Hunter Biden has decided he again will not be testifying. You want to cut this bullshit out? You want to stop this stuff? Like elect Trump. Elect Trump. You want to stop this dual system of justice? Elect Donald Trump. And I think you and I would both be in agreement that like criminals should just go to jail. Period. That's just the way it should be. And I just really don't care what their political stripe is. Hunter Biden is a straight up criminal. James Comer's calling him on it. Here we go.
But we're going to give Hunter Biden an opportunity. I'm not sure he won't show up, Maria. There have been 2 times where he showed up when he said he wasn't going to show up, to have a publicity stunt with the mainstream media to attack me and say that we didn't want to have a transparent public hearing. Well, that's going to be this week, and I fully expect Hunter Biden to show up. If he does not show up, then it's not going to end well for the Bidens, because we have 3 witnesses that are testifying, that have already testified under oath to significantly different stories as to what exactly the Biden influence peddling schemes were. This is very serious because we're at the point now of criminal referrals.
Criminal referrals, meaning you are going to refer these people for criminal action. How many criminal referrals are you expecting to make?
Well, there are going to be multiple criminal referrals. Look, we've spent a year investigating this. We faced massive obstruction from the White House, from the Biden legal team, yet we've been able to get probably 80% of the information that we've requested.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to investigating more on this. My producers are telling me that we have either James Comer or Jim Jordan booked for later on in the week, and so we will talk further about these criminal referrals. The reason why this is important is that this is what got Hunter Biden in to testify in the first place. Hunter Biden was, of course, doing this fabulous thing where he would go up and do a press conference and whine and bitch and mule, and it actually worked. They held him in contempt. They voted to hold Hunter Biden in contempt, and then Hunter Biden ran up and testified, right? So they should just do it again. Hunter Biden is not a healthy individual. We have photographic proof of that. Don't look too far through his laptop. But he's not a healthy individual. You, on the other hand, probably do care about your health, and you want to prevent the government agencies that are creating the new bioweapons, whatever else they're going to release, whatever they're going to do, whatever Black Swan event they have planned, you should be prepared. It's going to get wild between now and November. The wellness company, ladies and gentlemen, is what we use to ensure that we are not sacrificing our freedoms or our health. The government wants you to be scared. You shouldn't. You should be prepared. The wellness company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. Their emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. These medical life-saving emergency kits have emergency antibiotic, antivirals, antiparasitics on hand to keep you and your family safe. To order, go to twc.health/Benny, twc.health/Benny, and enter the code Benny for 10% off. Ladies and gentlemen, twc.health/Benny. It is Monday, and so you know, baby, it is Monday Gun Day. Let's go. You know what time it is. Monday Gun Day, brought to you by Spikes Tactical. Spikes Tactical, the official AR-15 of the Johnson household. Don't come a knocking. You know what I mean? You won't go away walking. Ladies and gentlemen, the governor of South Carolina, Henry McMaster, has signed a bill making South Carolina the 29th constitutional carry state. That's almost 30 states out of 50 constitutional carry. In case you're wondering, if you live in a red nation, you do live in a red nation. How it took so long for South Carolina to do this, I don't know. But what this means now is that 18-year-olds and older are allowed to carry a gun in self-defense without having to get permission from the government. All gun laws are unconstitutional, as the way that the Constitution is written and the Second Amendment is written. The new law contains increased penalties for illegal gun use and possession. Okay, good. We are 100% in favor of the criminals and the illegal usage of firearms to be hyper penalized when people are not responsible with their firearm ownership. It makes all of the rest of us look bad. So we're fine with that. But the way the Second Amendment is written is that you have a right to defend yourself and your family. And if you look around right now and you look at what's happening in this country, that's the way to go. Like, stay. Keep your head on a swivel. Protect yourself and protect your family. The way that we protect our family inside the Johnson household is Spike's Tactical. You got that sweet Spike's Tactical wall behind me. And this week, we're in fact going into edits as soon as the show's done. We have a Spike's Tactical special. I learned how to shoot a sniper rifle with a Army Ranger and some other really special firearms. And so we look forward to releasing that. A very, very fun day at the range. If you are suffering from any type of depression or male loneliness, I encourage you to go to a firearm range. Talk about a way to boost your mood. Go to a firearm range, take a lesson. If you need that. But like, man, what a mood uplifter. What a serotonin rush to go in there and just blast off. There was also we had some tannerite. We had a teddy bear that was stuffed with tannerite, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we do the show for? We do the show so that we can, 1, give you the good news, and so that we can, 2, speak the truth. And we wish to speak the truth on this show. General Flynn, well, he definitely grabbed the ball and ran with it. We want to collapse these lies and these narratives, but speaking truth really, like on the show, boils down to the truth. Like, why do we do this? The truth. The truth is found in scriptures. That's the ultimate truth. And so to center our show and to keep us focused, to make sure that we are always speaking truth on this program, we end every show with a Bible verse from Deuteronomy 31. It is the Lord who goes before you. He is with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. The words fear not appear in the Bible 365 times exactly. That's 1 for each day. So we have nothing to fear. We must march forward, and we must have faith that God is on our side, and he is, and his Son, Jesus Christ, who's our Lord and Savior, is watching out for us. And we simply must ask. And so we fight for the salvation of this nation. Do we need to be saved? Yes, we do. Do we want a better nation for our children? Yes, we do. Do we want to save this place? With all of our hearts. And so that's actually our call on this show, above anything else. And so we march together, happy warriors, General Flynn would be proud, to victory, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Benny. See ya.